Mikal Bridges' jump shot clearly looks different this year. So we're going to do a 5-minute breakdown going over what's changed in his shot and how it's changed from his time at Villanova up until now. We can see in this offseason clip from 2024 just what's happening in his shot, as it's starting with that full arm extension out and up, and then the ball is moving backwards. When this ball moves backwards and on top of his head with this high release point, the biggest struggle that he's going to deal with is these flat front rim misses. He's going to have a lot of shooting nights where he can't get over that front rim in order to have an efficient night from the field. From the mid-range, this can work with this high release point, but from the three-point line, I think he's going to struggle a little bit more this year. We can see from his own words that since he got into the league, he's been trying to fix it back to what it was in college. I find this interesting because we don't know exactly what's going on in a player's head unless he tells us. So we can see that at Villanova, he shot 43% his sophomore year. And it makes sense that he's trying to get back to the mechanics that he had then and what it felt like. Since he's gotten into the league, he shot 33% that rookie year, and then he worked his way up to 36 and 42. Since then, there's been a little bit of a trickle down in percentage, and I think what we're going to see this year is more like 35 or 36%, again with the majority of those misses being short off the front rim. Let's take a look at his clips from his sophomore season at Villanova. We can see how that ball is starting closer to his body, moving up his body, and then more aggressively to the rim without coming on top of or behind his head. This transfers into his rookie season, where we can see that the ball's starting a little farther out, but he's still maintaining a pretty good flow and a pretty good push to the rim. Now let's take a look at that third year in the NBA when he shot 42%. There's not too much of a mechanical difference compared to the previous year, but one thing I do like is that elbow angle on the push to the rim is directly on top of his head, and it's not really extended with that much space between his head and the ball, as we'll see in these later years. This 2021 year is interesting to me because we can visibly see a lower release point. He had a down year shooting like this, but I think if he had kept this up, he would feel really good about where his shot is now. The one thing that we can see is that ball is extended out in front, so even though the release point is lower, it's very separated from his face. So the longer that these arms get away from his body, the more rigid this shot is going to look and feel. And we can see this in this 2022-2023 year because he has the ball extended out in front of his body the same way, but with a higher release point. So in this clip, we can see that this is kind of the first evolution to this extended high release shot that he started to develop now. Going into this 2023-2024 season, which was last year, we can see how this is kind of culminated in that extended ball path and high release point on top of his head. The ball's winding farther back, which causes a much harder push to the rim that he needs because of the lack of power through the elbow. It's turning a little bit more into the soccer pass that we'll see in this NBA preseason 2024. And last year, as we can see in this corner 3 clip, it's almost identical to how he's shooting now. I think we see glimpses of good and bad shots, but we're starting to see more of these long shots that go behind and on top of his head. We can see here in this clip how the speed can make up for it if he does it fast enough, but otherwise it's a pretty rigid shot where there's a lot of direction change. We can see in these preseason clips how nearly all his misses are off the front rim and extremely flat. If he's going to give himself a chance this year to make more shots, he's going to need to have a little bit tighter ball path if possible, but more importantly, he's going to need to speed that ball up and have that release point low enough so that he can lift over the front rim. I'm worried that if Bridges is more concerned with elevating and extending over his defender, he's going to have a lower efficiency year, and it's not going to be worth the cost that he's paying for it. Let's just review this and do a compare and contrast between his previous years and now. We can see such a difference between that sophomore season at Villanova and his NBA preseason games this year because the ball is moving farther out, it's moving slower, and it's on top of his head. We can see how even in that 2021 year, he's getting rid of it with a lower release point, but how that ball starts extending out into a longer winding ball path year by year. I think he can have a solid year, but I think he's going to battle these short misses continuously.